Chapter 4. Turning. Reading into action. It's great you've been reading. You've turned pages, highlighted quotes, and maybe even shouted, "Wow, this book is talking to me," at least once. Besides, here comes the million-dollar question. How do you take all that knowledge and make it work for you? Because realistically, reading without application is like cooking a big pot of jollof rice and forgetting to serve it. A waste of premium effort. In this chapter, we'll bridge the gap between reading and doing. It's not just about consuming information. It's about transforming it into actions that improve your life, career, and your relationships. Think of it as converting your book smarts into street smarts. Here's what you'll cover. 1. How to turn what you've read into practical steps. No more just vibes. Let's make it happen. 2. Whether you are job hunting, starting a business, or climbing the corporate ladder, you'll know how books can be your secret weapon. 3. You'll see how books can reshape your daily life from improving communication skills to building better habits. 4. Got a challenge? There's probably a book that has the answer. Learn how to find and apply solutions from the pages you've read. At the end of this chapter, you'll have the tools to move from "I've read it" to "I'm living it." So, grab your notebook and your favorite pen. It's time to take action. Converting knowledge into action. Do you know that feeling when you finish a book, your head buzzing with brilliant ideas, but then you go back to your routine as if nothing happened? It's like learning how to make perfect moi and then refusing to cook it. My friend, reading without applying is like having okra soup without meat, ponmo, dry fish, and crayfish. You're missing the full experience. Turning knowledge into action is the secret sauce that separates the library gurus from the doers. Let's examine how you can take the wisdom from books and make it work for you. Step 1. Take notes like a pro. I mentioned this briefly earlier, but here is the full pack. Gone are the days of reading a book and saying, "I'll remember that part later." You won't. Write it down. Get a notebook or use an app and jot down the key points that resonate with you. It could be a striking quote, a practical tip, or even a question that makes you think. Remember, the faintest pen is sharper than the sharpest memory. Step 2. Break it down into actions. Books often present big ideas, but it's your job to break them into manageable steps. For example, if you read about improving time management, don't just think, "I need to manage my time better." Instead, start small. Set a daily schedule, track your tasks, or use an app to block distractions. The key is to move from what to how, and from how to deed, the eventual output of your action. Step 3. Experiment and adapt. Not every idea in a book will work for you, and that's okay. Think of it like trying different pepper soup recipes. You'll need to tweak things to suit your taste. Experiment with the suggestions, adapt them to your lifestyle, and don't be afraid to discard what doesn't fit. The goal is progress, not perfection. Step 4. Share and discuss. One of the best ways to solidify what you've learned is to teach it to someone else. Share insights with your friends, colleagues, siblings, or Instagram followers. Start a conversation. Ask for their perspectives and see how their input enhances your understanding. Plus, sharing makes you look smart, and who doesn't like that? Step 5. Reflect and review. Learning is a journey, not a sprint. Take time to reflect on what's working and what's not. Go back to your notes, revisit chapters, and evaluate the impact of the actions you've taken. This process of reflection ensures that the knowledge stays with you and continues to remold your growth. Finally, connecting knowledge to action isn't rocket science, but it does require effort and intentionality. It's about moving from passive consumption to active transformation. So, as you turn the pages of your next book, ask yourself, how can I use this? The answer might just be the key to unlocking the next level of your journey. Knowledge is of no value unless you put it into practice. Anton Chekhov. Applying reading to career growth. Imagine walking into an interview and dropping insights so quickly, that the hiring manager has no choice but to say, "When can you start?" That's the power of applying what you read to your career. Books are more than just words on paper. They're tools that can frame your professional journey and help you stand out in a sea of competitors, transforming knowledge into skills. Books on leadership, communication, and industry trends are like treasure maps leading you to career success. The next time you pick up a book, think of it as a training manual. Learn the strategies, practice them in real life, and watch your skills shine brighter than Nairobi at Christmas. For instance, if you read a book on effective communication, start applying those lessons in your emails and meetings. Instead of writing, "Kindly find attached," make your tone more engaging and direct. Your colleagues will notice, then you're the go-to person for clear, impactful communication. Solving workplace challenges. Workplaces are like small nations with their own politics, challenges, and triumphs. Books can be your compass for navigating this terrain. Whether it's managing difficult colleagues or streamlining processes, there's a book for every scenario. For example, imagine you're leading a team and things aren't going smoothly. A quick plunge into a book on team dynamics could give you the insights needed to turn things around. With each idea you apply, you're not just fixing issues, you're building a reputation as a problem solver. Staying ahead of the curve industries evolve faster than a swarm of sugar ants racing to a sugar crystal the moment it hits your floor. Keeping up means staying informed, and books are one of the best ways to do that. From emerging technologies to evolving best practices, reading keeps you ahead of the game. Imagine being the person in the office who always knows the latest trends. It's not magic, it's reading. Networking. Through books don't just open doors to knowledge, they open conversations. Quoting a book in a discussion or sharing your latest read on LinkedIn can spark connections with like-minded professionals. Suddenly, that book you read becomes a bridge to mentorship, collaboration, or even job opportunities. Turning books into career guides. Treat every book as a career coach. Highlight the parts that resonate with you, turn them into action points, and measure your growth. Whether it's soft skills like time management or hard skills like coding, each book equips you with tools to build the career you desire. Books are not only for learning, but also for doing. Every page you turn is a step toward becoming the professional you want to be. The next time you open a book, don't just ask, "What does this teach me?" Ask, "How can I use this to grow my career?" The answers could be the keys to unlocking doors you didn't know existed. Check this out. Imagine turning a book on leadership into your career compass at work. Apply one insight, like managing team dynamics, and suddenly, you're the star of the office. Reading isn't just learning, it's crafting your edge, solving workplace challenges, and building a reputation that opens doors faster than a VIP pass. Ready to make your next book your career coach? Solving real-world issues with knowledge. The knowledge you soak up from reading isn't meant to gather dust in the corners of your mind. It's like a missile waiting to be launched. Think about this. The world, arms crossed, tapping its foot impatiently, wondering when you're going to drop your brilliance and start solving its mess. Much like Africa. Oh, Africa has been holding its breath for ages, like someone waiting for a slow-loading video, hoping you'd show up. So, put down that cup of tea, or coffee, we don't judge. Roll up your sleeves and get to work. It's your time to shine. Applying reading to societal issues in Africa. Imagine this scenario. A young Nigerian graduate steps out into the world with dreams brighter than the Johannesburg skyline, only to face the harsh realities of unemployment, insecurity, and broken systems. Across Africa, countless individuals grapple with societal challenges that seem as endless as traffic on the Third Mainland Bridge. With that said, what if reading held the key to changing this narrative? Africa's challenges are no joke. Corruption, poverty, tribalism, greed, and economic instability, to name a few. Yet many of these issues persist because we lack the knowledge, critical thinking, and transformative solutions needed to address them. Reading is not just an academic exercise. It's an arsenal of tools and perspectives that arms our minds, equipping us to tackle challenges head-on with confidence and clarity. Building awareness through reading. One major problem in Africa is ignorance. Many people simply don't know the why or how behind societal issues. Books provide the insight needed to understand complex topics like governance, human rights, and economic systems. The transformative impact will be significant if more people read about the history of colonialism and its lingering effects on our economies. We'd stop blaming each other and start pushing for real systemic change. Take corruption, for example. We often see it as a government problem, but corruption thrives when citizens don't hold their leaders accountable. Reading books on civic responsibility and anti-corruption strategies can teach us how to demand transparency without resorting to hashtags alone. Knowledge is power. The application of the same is what changes the status quo. Reading to know what to do in this instance is the game changer. Igniting development and creativity. Sheyude see all these tech innovations transforming lives globally. They're built on knowledge, and much of that knowledge comes from books. Africans are some of the most creative people on earth. Just look at our music, movies, fashion, natural resources, and disaster-free terrain. Besides, creativity needs knowledge to turn ideas into impactful solutions. Reading about renewable energy, for instance, could inspire someone in a rural community to create affordable solar solutions. Books on education reform could help teachers redesign better ways to engage students. The possibilities are endless when we combine African ingenuity with global knowledge. Fascinating, right? What if the key to solving Africa's most pressing problems, unemployment, corruption, and insecurity, lies within the pages of a book? Knowledge from reading can spark critical thinking and offer real solutions. Imagine a nation where every citizen is empowered with the wisdom to demand change, innovate, and build a better future for all. Reprogramming mindsets and combating tribalism. Tribalism and ethnic division remain one of the biggest barriers to unity in Africa. Nigeria as a case study. Say ignorance they play big role for this matter. Books, especially literature from different African authors, help us see life through the eyes of others. They teach empathy and understanding, showing us that we are more alike than different. For instance, reading Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart doesn't just tell a story, it gives insight into the cultural richness and struggles of the Igbo people. Imagine if everyone read stories that reflected the diversity of Africa. We'd stop focusing on who is Yoruba or who is Hausa and start thinking about who is solving problems. Over here, let's dwell a little longer on Nigerian electoral process and examine the way out through reading. There are 3 types of voters in Nigerian politics. Nigeria's political formation is as vibrant as it is chaotic. Voters often fall into 3 categories, initiated by motivations ranging from altruism to self-interest and bias. This categorization highlights the need for a shift in mindset, one that can only be achieved through knowledge, critical thinking, and civic awareness. Books, especially those addressing governance, ethics, and history, hold the potential to inspire this shift. Here's how reading can serve as a tool to address the issues inherent in each voter category. 1. The neutral voters, building informed idealists. Neutral voters embody the ideals of democracy. They vote based on competence, integrity, and the collective good of society. However, their numbers are often too few to drive significant change. With the right reading materials, this group can expand and become more influential. How reading helps. Books on governance, political systems, and democratic processes can empower neutral voters to articulate their ideals better and influence others. For example, reading Why Nations Fail by Darren Acemoglu and James A. Robinson can deepen their understanding of governance and accountability. Exposure to biographies of exemplary leaders like Nelson Mandela and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf can inspire confidence in the possibility of ethical governance. Civic education materials can equip these voters to organize grassroots campaigns, debunk political misinformation, and mobilize communities toward informed voting. Neutral voters, armed with knowledge, can become change agents, ensuring that their ideals resonate more widely in a system often driven by cynicism. 2. The myopic vote sellers. Breaking the cycle of short-term pleasure. Vote selling reflects a deep-rooted problem of poverty and lack of awareness. Many in this group act out of desperation, focusing on immediate gains rather than the long-term consequences of their actions. How reading helps. Books on personal finance and economic empowerment can help this group understand the value of long-term planning over short-term fixes. A book like Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki could shift their mindset towards sustainable financial practices. Stories or case studies on the impact of poor leadership caused by vote selling, highlighting its effects on education, healthcare, and infrastructure, can create a personal connection to the broader consequences of their actions. Reading can also enhance critical thinking, enabling individuals to question political promises and recognize manipulative tactics. A book like Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman can teach them to weigh decisions carefully. Educating this group through accessible and relatable materials can disrupt the cycle of poverty and short-term decision-making that perpetuates poor governance. The biased voters. Overcoming prejudice and promoting unity. Biased voters are arguably the most detrimental to Nigeria's democracy. Their decisions rooted in tribalism, religion, or ethnicity undermine the principles of meritocracy and national unity. Addressing this issue requires a shift in worldview, a task that reading can significantly aid. How reading helps. Books promoting empathy and cultural understanding, such as Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Half of a Yellow Sun, can expose voters to perspectives beyond their own. Historical accounts of Nigeria's civil war and its consequences can illustrate the dangers of division and the value of unity. For example, There Was a Country by Chinua Achebe provides a sobering reflection on how ethnic biases can spiral into conflict. Literature on peacebuilding and conflict resolution can encourage voters to prioritize competence over affiliations. A book like The Anatomy of Peace by the Arbinger Institute could foster dialogue and understanding. Reading can pave the way for a more unified electorate that values competence and national interest above narrow loyalties by challenging deeply ingrained prejudices. Proposing a reading-based solution to electoral challenges. 1. Community reading hubs. Establish accessible libraries or reading corners focused on governance, ethics, and nation building. These hubs could host discussions, debates, and workshops to engage citizens. 2. Book clubs for political awareness. Organize book clubs where participants read and discuss works related to leadership, democracy, and the consequences of biased voting. Creating relatable local content would also make these clubs more impactful. 3. Partnerships with schools. Incorporate civic education books and materials into school curriculums to instill a culture of informed voting from an early age. 4. Use of audiobooks and ebooks. Leverage technology to distribute ebooks and audiobooks addressing electoral issues. Platforms like WhatsApp and Telegram can help reach rural areas where access to physical books is limited. 5. Campaigns with writers and meaningful leaders. Engage authors, poets, and storytellers to create compelling narratives about the dangers of poor voting choices and the benefits of informed decision-making. I bet you didn't know. A simple book could transform the way voters think, from short-term gratification to long-term societal change. Imagine a nation of informed citizens, challenging biases and tribalism with every page they turn, becoming not just voters, but active agents of unity and progress, transforming Nigeria's future for generations. Reading as the key to electoral transformation. The electoral issues facing Nigeria are not insurmountable. The tools to address them already exist, hidden within the pages of books waiting to be read. Whether it's inspiring idealism, breaking the chains of poverty-driven voting, or overcoming biases, reading equips individuals with the knowledge and mindset needed for change. As the saying goes, he who opens a book opens a door. Let us use reading to open the doors of progress, unity, and good governance for Nigeria and the rest of Africa. Equipping the youth for leadership. Africa's youth hold the potential to lead us into a brighter future, but leadership isn't just about ambition, it's about knowledge. Books on leadership, history, and governance can prepare young people to take the reins effectively. Imagine a generation of leaders who have studied African success stories and global examples of progress. That's the kind of change reading can inspire. Practical steps. Using books to drive change. Community libraries and book clubs. Setting up accessible libraries and discussion groups can help spread knowledge. Even a small shelf in a market or church can ignite curiosity. Promoting African authors. Local writers often address societal issues better. Supporting their work ensures the stories and solutions come from within. Encouraging functional literacy. It's not enough to read. People must understand and apply what they read. Workshops and training sessions can bridge the gap between theory and practice. Incorporating books into policy conversations. A town hall where leaders discuss actionable ideas from books. The results could be transformative. Africa's challenges are vast, but so are its opportunities. Books can serve as the spark that ignites change, from inspiring individuals to developing communities and entire nations. Every page turned is a step toward understanding, solving, and transforming. My fellow Africans, it's high time we read with purpose and tackle these issues gallantly. If we don't read to lead, who will? Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. Knowledge-based problem solving, case studies. Knowledge na power, Abi. But power where you no fit use na waste. It's one thing to read about great ideas, it's another to apply them to solve real-life problems. In this section, we'll evaluate how individuals and communities have used reading and knowledge to tackle pressing challenges. These stories are proof that with the right mindset, a good book can be the beginning of a transformation. Case Study 1. Transforming a village with renewable energy. Somewhere in rural Kenya, a young man named James found his village struggling with frequent power outages. Frustrated, he decided to read up on alternative energy solutions. Through books on renewable energy and online articles, James learned how to design a solar-powered grid using affordable materials. Fast forward to today, his village enjoys uninterrupted power, and James is now training others to replicate his model. Knowledge gave him the tools, action made the difference. If you've seen the movie The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, you'll recognize the transformative power of reading in action. William, the young protagonist, defies all odds to continue attending his science class and gains access to the school library, where he discovers books on electrical engineering and energy production. This sparks a journey of improvement and determination, as he uses the knowledge he gained from reading to harness wind energy and provide water for his drought-stricken community. A true testament to the life-changing impact of reading, learning, and perseverance. Case Study 2. Tackling food insecurity through urban farming. In Anambra, Mama Emeka runs a small food business. Rising food prices were threatening her livelihood, and she knew something had to change. After reading a book on urban farming, she started growing vegetables in her little garden. Soon, she wasn't just saving money, she was supplying fresh produce to her neighbors. Her small garden became a community solution to skyrocketing food costs. Reading gave her the idea, and determination did the rest. Nigeria is currently in shortage of vegetables. That's why reading this book right now is an invaluable action. What will you do? Case Study 3. Reducing unemployment through skill acquisition. Across West Africa, unemployment is a major challenge. Anita, a recent graduate from Ghana, decided she wasn't going to wait around for a white-collar job. Inspired by a book on digital marketing, she took online courses and built her skills. Within months, she was freelancing for international clients. Today, Anita runs a digital marketing agency and mentors other young Africans to do the same. Her story shows how reading can empower individuals to create their opportunities. Case Study 4. Bridging educational gaps in rural communities. In northern Nigeria, Fatima noticed that many children in her community couldn't read or write. Instead of waiting for external help, she set up a makeshift library using donated books. Reading about teaching techniques, she started weekend literacy classes for the kids. Today, many of those children are excelling in school. Fatima's efforts demonstrate how reading doesn't just solve personal problems, it can uplift entire communities. Case Study 5. Advocating for social justice through literature. David, a university student in South Africa, was moved by the struggles of marginalized communities in his city. After reading books on social justice and advocacy, he began organizing awareness campaigns and legal aid workshops. His knowledge from books gave him the confidence to speak up and mobilize others. The result was several policy changes that improved access to housing and healthcare for underprivileged families. Lessons learned from these case studies. Each of these stories highlights a simple truth. Reading isn't just about acquiring knowledge, it's about using it to make a tangible difference. Whether it's starting a small initiative or sparking a larger movement, the power of reading lies in its ability to inspire action. The case studies show that solutions to Africa's biggest challenges often start with an idea from a book. These stories aren't just meant to inspire, they're a call to action. Your next book could hold the answer to a problem you've been trying to solve. So, pick up that book, learn, and act, because change begins with you. How about this? What if a single book could light the spark for a community's transformation? James in Kenya, Anita in Ghana, Fatima in Nigeria, and David in South Africa all use the knowledge from books to create real, lasting change. It's proof that reading isn't just an academic pursuit. It's a powerful tool for problem solving and progress in Africa, creating a personal action plan for success. Reading without action is like cooking a sorted porridge yam and leaving it in the pot. A waste of potential. You've turned pages, learned lessons, and even taken notes. Now, it's time to create a plan that will translate all that knowledge into tangible results. No long talk. Let's get into it. Step 1. Define your goals. Start with clarity. What do you want to achieve with what you've read? Is it career growth, solving a community problem, or personal development? Write down your goals and don't be afraid to dream big. Be specific. For example, instead of saying, "I want to learn more about business," say, "I'll read 3 books on entrepreneurship and apply their principles to my side hustle." Streamline your goals with SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, result-oriented, time-bound, in mind. What is worth achieving is equally worth planning for. Step 2. Break it down. Goals are like pounded yam. You need to break them into smaller, manageable pieces before they're ready to digest. Divide your plan into actionable steps. For instance, if your goal is to improve time management, you could read a chapter of a time management book daily. Apply one technique from each chapter immediately. Review your progress every week. Small steps lead to big wins. Step 3. Set deadlines. Deadlines. Oops. My mentor corrected this framework many years ago. It's actually a timeline and not a deadline, the specific period an action would be achieved or implemented. Add urgency and specificity to your plan. Without them, your goals might turn into Nigerian time projects, always pending. Everybody knows say na African time be the worst of the bunch. Decide when each step should be completed. Keep the timeline realistic but firm, like promising yourself to finish a book within 2 weeks. Step 4. Measure your progress. If you don't track your progress, how will you know you're winning? Keep a journal or use an app to log your milestones. The more you track, the more motivated you'll feel. Step 5. Stay flexible. Life happens, friend. The fact that can't be denied. Maybe you'll hit a snag or a new book will inspire you to tweak your plan. Adapt where necessary, but stay committed to the bigger picture. Remember, the road to success isn't always straight, but it's always worth it. Step 6. Find accountability. Share your plan with someone who will keep you accountable. Whether it's a friend, mentor, or even your Instagram followers, let them know your goals. Having cheerleaders and occasional reminders can keep you on track. Turning the page on action. Your personal action plan is your roadmap to growth. It's not just about what you've read, but how you apply it to create an impact in your life and the world around you. As you move forward, remember that consistency beats perfection. Take one step at a time, and soon you'll see the fruits of your efforts. In Chapter 4, we probed how to bridge the gap between reading and action. We discussed how to connect knowledge to practical solutions, apply it to career growth, address societal challenges, and develop personalized strategies for problem solving. This chapter wasn't just about reading, it was about doing. You've learned to read, apply, and act. Now it's time to add some spice to your journey. In Chapter 5, you will uncover how to cultivate a lifelong love for reading, using books to inspire, entertain, and transform continuously. From discovering hidden literary gems to becoming a reading influencer, yes, it's a thing. We're going all out. Get ready. The best pages are now being opened.